Hey, what's up, guys? It's really good to be with you tonight. Don't want to waste time. Let's dive right in. We are in guidepost number 5 of building a healthy missional community, and it piggybacks off of a lot of the conversation that you had last week. And so it just kind of hones down and gets a little bit more specific. And so both groups had a ton of traction last week. Let's see if we can't feed that a little bit. You have a clearly defined mission last week, and now you begin to look at adjusting our lives according to that mission. Adjusting our lives according to that mission. And so there's 3 things that I want to hit on really quickly that I think we've got to talk about in order that we can see the mission to this defined people happen. Okay, so there's some things that we need to talk about. The first one is the go model, or the feeling of calling and being sent to, as opposed to come and see. Let me explain. Most of your and I's church experience has all been about come and see. And what I mean is, come on Sunday. Come to our event. Come to our department, our women's ministry, our men's ministry, our youth ministry. Get your kids involved in the kids' ministry. Come and see. Come to us. Okay? And there's a long span of history there where that was pretty effective. People did come. A matter of fact, in a lot of communities, the church was the calendar by which the community flowed around or moved around or orbited around. That's not today, y'all. We don't live in that world anymore. We live in a world where, honestly, the community doesn't care what our schedules are. And so when we say come and see, they're like, nah, I've got other priorities that take precedence over that. So we need to take the go to all the world and preach the gospel. Go. Be sent into the world and to share the gospel of Jesus. So we've got to, when we're going on mission, so we don't want to talk about an event for people to come to. Instead, we want to talk about engaging in the rhythms of life that those people that we're called to, we're going to engage in the rhythms of life that they're in, okay? And so this might look like, okay, so when you're thinking, as you're talking through what you're going to do as a missional community, think through how do the people that we're trying to reach, how do they live? How do they spend their time? What do they do? Where do they gather up? That's a big one. Where do they gather up? And let's tap into where they gather up, not invite them into our gathering. Well, although there's nothing bad about that. There's nothing wrong with an event. That's not what I'm saying. But the purpose of mission, though, is to click into where they gather, right? And so which brings me to my second point is that sometimes we might need to just go and ask, hey, what are some ways that, we've got a group of us, maybe some leadership goes or whatever, and say, hey, I got a group of us. What are some ways that we can serve you? Like, do you have any needs? I'm thinking like, you go out to the elementary school, ask the elementary school principal, hey, I've got a missional community. We want to help. We want to get involved to make our community better. What are some ways that we can serve you? And I'm telling you, leaders don't get asked questions like that. I'm telling you, you go up and ask a school principal that, they're going to be like, are you kidding me? We could use this. We could use that. We could use this. We could use some bodies to help us with this. We've got a parent-teacher conference coming up. We need food for it. There's just tons. So my second point is, let's when we clearly define a mission or clearly define a people group that we're called to, let's adjust our lives to the mission. And so let's find out. We're not saying come and see. Instead, we're saying, how can we serve you? And then after you get that information, you can better know exactly what our missional communities can actually do in regards to action and moving and going and being sent to that particular people group. Which moves me into point number 3, which I think is super important. And I'm going to illustrate it this way. I'll say it. We need to be committed to whatever it is we decide to do for that particular people group. We all need to be committed to that. Not a handful of us, but as a group, as a community. Let me illustrate it this way. let's say, just for sake of argument, you feel like you need to lose 20 pounds, okay? Just for the sake of argument. And let's say you're going to put a plan in place to make that happen. You're going to you got a goal of 2 months, okay? So you're going to lose just over 2 pounds a week, let's say. Okay, now Monday rolls around, you make that commitment, Monday rolls around, it's time to get started, right? So here's how you're going to do that. You're going to cut out sugar, and you're going to exercise 30 minutes 3 times a week. So how do you do that? Well, you go and you start thinking through your daily schedule. You're going to have to order different things at the restaurant. If you cook, you're going to have to get away from pastries and donuts and all that kind of stuff. If your desserts and pies and cakes and all of that, you got to get away from all of that because you're cutting sugar out. So you're going to cook something else, right? You're going to have to adjust what you're doing, because all of us know that the definition of insanity is to continue to do the same thing you're doing expecting a different result. That's craziness. That's insanity. No, you're going to adjust that. And then you're going to look at your calendar. Where can I put 30 minutes of exercise on Monday? Where can I put it on Wednesday? Where can I put it on Friday? And 30 minutes that you normally spent doing something else, you're actually going to spend that 30 minutes working out, okay? Exercising in some way. And that's going to be your goal. Well, when you come to the scale on that first week, your expectation at the end of that Saturday of all week, so long as you've done these things, you can expect to, you're going to have an anticipation that you've lost 2 pounds, let's say, okay? If you haven't done those things, odds are you're probably not going to the scale, right? I wouldn't. I mean, I know we probably just avoid the scale because we haven't really got started yet, right? The point is this: in order for us to lose that weight, we've got to do something. It's actionable, okay? We've got to actually do the thing. We actually have to do the work. Missional community is just like that, okay? We can talk about mission. We can talk about how Jesus was sent into the world. We can talk about the Great Commission. We can have great and deep Bible studies about it and sit around and talk about it. But if we never do anything, then we cannot expect to reach this generation. It's that simple. We can't expect to reach the unchurched. We can't expect to reach our family and friends if we don't put some sort of action, tangible, hands and feet to the mission of Christ. And so hear me, missional community. This is so important that when you put something in place, everybody needs to have just synergy around it. So yes, we're all in. And I'm going to tell you, there is nothing more discouraging for leadership to schedule something to go do, and then as the time gets close to doing it, people just stop dropping off because it's not a big priority to them. That's so discouraging. And we've got to change the tide on that. So once you have developed a clearly defined mission, now we need to adjust our lives to that mission. And so I just encourage you. Matter of fact, Jeff Vanderstelde and Saturate Ministry is where we get a lot of this missional community conversation about. And in their missional community groups, they actually have people sign a covenant that says, this is what we're about for this year, and I commit to helping this group of people and this family of servant followers of Jesus to be on mission to this particular people group. And they actually sign a covenant for it. I'm not asking you to do that, but what I am asking you to do is be committed to the mission. Once you decide to do a thing, to minister and serve that people group, man, get after it. Go do it. You'll have to say no to another part of your schedule to say yes to your missional community servant, a bunch of words I'm trying to use here, project, event, whatever. When you're going in to engage that people group, you're going to have to adjust something in your life. So anyway, I'm rambling. Love you. Have some good conversation. Again, feed off of the traction that you got last week, and let's see what Jesus can do as we become his hands and feet. Love you. I'll see you on Sunday.